Hey, so today India's global diaspora is probably one of the most influential in the world, especially through our presence in the tech world. Indians and people of Indian origin shape today's global cultural and social landscape. This modern dynamic is unprecedented in scale, but South Asian communities have always been proactive in their attempts to traverse the seas and spread their ideas. More in all these videos that we've done. This is the story of how Indian monks reached China in the 8th century CE and the absolutely magical things they did there. I'm Anirudh Kanisetti, historian and author of Lords of the Deccan. Welcome to Thinking Medieval, where every week we tell you something new about our complex, innovative past. Always feel free to check out our research and citations below and join us in figuring out how to think about our messy, bloody, dazzling history. In school textbooks in India, we're generally taught that the reason Buddhism spread across Asia is because the Mauryan Emperor Ashoka sent embassies everywhere. More in this video here. But in reality, the heyday of Asian Buddhism came nearly 1000 years after Ashoka, when vibrant new polities and religious networks had already emerged across South and Southeast Asia. We know this immense geocultural world by lots of names: the Sanskrit Cosmopolis, the Buddhist Cosmopolis, Monsoon Asia, Maritime Asia. It stretched across the Indian subcontinent into the oceans, plugging the thriving cultures of Bengal and Tamil Nadu into the Rohana and Lambakanna kingdoms of Sri Lanka, the Piu polities of Myanmar, the emerging city-states of the Malay Peninsula and Sumatra, the powerful Shailendra polity of Java, and thence to the vibrant cosmopolitan world of China under the Tang dynasty. Ideas and material goods flowed between these regions, took on local forms, and then returned to circulation. By the 8th century, South Asian religious masters, especially the Shaivites, had developed the concepts of Tantra or Mantra Marga. Today, we see Tantra as how Victorian England once did, as a dark, violent, lustful body of ideas separate from sanskari mainstream Indian religions. But medieval Tantra was really a vast corpus of thought, with the basic idea being that you could manipulate reality itself and inculcate magical powers through rituals. It was very much a part of mainstream Shaivism, Shaktism, and even Buddhism and Vaishnavism. Tantric offerings could potentially include blood, meat, and sexual fluids, but were more typically flowers, incense, gestures, mandalas, and the chanting of complex mantras. Tantric masters promised that they could bring rains, avert famines, ensure prosperity and military victory, and offered a host of spiritual benefits to their patrons. Many Asian kings underwent tantric initiation or integrated tantrism into their state cults. For example, the Deccan king Vikramaditya I or the Cambodian king Jayavarman II of Angkor. More on this guy here. Today's a very self-referential episode, it seems. Another one of these tantric-initiated Asian kings was Tamil ruler Narasimhavarman Pallava II. Tantrism was believed to offer tangible benefits for the states that these rulers were building. In fact, a young relation of Narasimhavarman was supposedly sent to the great Buddhist monastic university of Nalanda in Bihar for tantric training. He was called Vajrapodi or Vajrabuddhi, and he would go on to transform Asian Buddhism. Born around 705 CE, Vajrapodi spent much of his early life traveling through northern and western India and studying Tantric Buddhism before returning to his family's kingdom in present-day Tamil Nadu. There he supposedly displayed his tantric powers by calling the rains and forcing trees to blossom. The Pallava court was in contact with the Tang court of China at the time, and Vajrapodi seems to have decided to settle there across the oceans. He traveled via Sri Lanka and Java, and according to official Chinese court biographies, he refused offers from many local kings who wanted him to stay and imbue their kingdoms with tantric powers. I mean, it's pretty obvious that tantric masters didn't really have magical abilities, but clearly they believed that they did, and that made all the difference. To the Tang court, they were basically importing new technologies from research universities. Vajrapodi had memorized many Sanskrit tantras, and much of his career in China was spent translating voluminous scriptures into Chinese. These include texts such as the ritual for practicing the Samadhi of Vairochana in the Yoga of the Adamantine Pinnacle Sutra, and the spell text of the great body of the Bodhisattva thousand-armed and thousand-eyed Avalokiteshvara. As flowery as these names are, they reveal something much more interesting. Cutting-edge theological and religious ideas were moving from Bengal to Tamil Nadu to Sri Lanka to Java, as well as between Shaivism and Buddhism across this vast geography of the Buddhist Cosmopolis. In Vajrapodi's theology, 5 supreme Buddhas were associated with a cosmic mandala that could be manipulated with ritual. This was a very different religion from that once preached by Siddhartha Gautama. Vajrapodi's disciple and successor in the Tang court, Amoghavajra, had a Central Asian father and an Indian mother. He developed a Chinese state cult dedicated to the Buddhist deity Manjushri after visiting esoteric libraries in Sri Lanka and Bengal. Historian Swati Chemburkar writes in Esoteric Buddhism in Medieval Maritime Asia that by the end of the 8th century, Manjushri's cult, centered on the 5-peaked mountain called Wotaishan, was one of the most important cults in China, where aspirants to Chakravartin or emperor status would seek the Bodhisattva Manjushri's support. She further notes that similar royal Buddhist cults existed in Bengal and in Java. So, the mandala-based royal Buddhism of these 2 Indian monks went on to become the basis for many influential schools in Japan and China in subsequent centuries. The Buddhist world of Maritime Asia was one of the most vibrant cultural complexes in global history. Amoghavajra and Vajrapodi are just 2 among thousands of monks who traversed the region, often working with royals and ambassadors. Texts, icons, and relics were exchanged at a large scale. The urge to build states and consolidate royal power was inseparable from belief and religion. So, when we think of India's influence on this wider world, it's important to recognize remarkable individuals who were not kings. But we should always remember that other regions of Asia had their own complex reasons for adopting ideas from the subcontinent. If you have questions or comments, we'd love to hear them. Follow us everywhere on social media. You can find me on Instagram at Anirudh and at Connected Histories, and on Twitter at Kanisetti. We'll see you next week.